Welcome back to another episode of Everyday Conversations, and I'm your host, Amin Mombani. Quick one before we start. If you haven't subscribed yet on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you are listening to, do that now because trust me, it's amazing lineup going on. I have amazing guests coming up over there. So today I just want to introduce to a contradiction. By the day she walks into courtrooms and defends people whose lives are on the line, criminal defense, high stakes, the kind of work where the pressure is metaphorical, it is real and it's someone else's freedom. And throughout all of that, she's also building something completely different. Coaching practice built on one idea that I think most of us desperately need to hear in 2026. So she's a productivity coach as well. And she helps people build systems, not inspiration, not vision boards, not the 3 hour morning sessions or 3 hour morning routines. Systems that actually work when life is messy and busy and nothing goes according to plan, which is most of the time for most of us. People kept asking her, how do you do it all? How does a criminal defense attorney also run a coaching practice, writes a book, and show up consistently and still have a life? She's Coach Lee, and the tagline she lives by is the one I think it's the entire episode would be on that to prove. She says, I help you create a life that your career cannot destroy. Coach Lee, welcome to Everyday Conversations.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to have this conversation.
I have to start with a contradiction. As I said in the intro, criminal defense attorney by day, productivity coach throughout. How do those two different worlds actually live inside the same person without one of them destroying the other?
It's funny that that's the first question because I remember when I first started my business and like one of the first interviews I did, somebody was like, like pretty much same version, but like, how do these two coexist? And I'm like, well, actually, as I think about it, I think they go together really well because as a defense attorney, I don't choose the crime that my client is alleged to have committed. I got to take what I'm given. I got to take these lemons of this crime, the lemons of the facts that I've given, the discovery, all of that. And I got to find a way to make the best kind of lemonade I can. It might still be a little tart. It might can make it sweet, but I have to take what I'm given and make the best of it. And so in the same vein, when it comes to coaching, I don't necessarily choose my client's struggles. Yes, I'm here to coach and help around productivity, accountability, work-life balance, and all of that. But what that looks like for you, me, and any other client is going to be different. You might be a full-time entrepreneur. You might also be working full-time, but you might work in a different field. You might be a mom. You might be a dad. You might have kids. You might just be married. Each of us lives very different lives. And so what that looks like for each of us individually is going to be different. And in the criminal world, no two crimes or no two cases are the same. Yes, I represented people who are charged with the same crime, but their background, the facts of the case, the evidence that they have, there's always going to be something different. And so I think the experience of having to think on my feet, to figure out the best way to make this thing work in the criminal realm works really well in the coaching realm in that same sense because no two people also are alike.
That's a good description for that. Lee, the contradiction, you already answered it. So I want to ask you something. It's morning over there right now, a Sunday morning. How are you doing right now and what is going on in your world this week?
I'm doing good. So what's going on in my world this week? Well, actually for work, I start a trial tomorrow. So I will be starting a trial tomorrow for work. And so this week and typically every weekend, but especially like weeks when I know I'm going into trial, it's about making sure I'm setting myself up. Being intentional with my to-do list. Like I do a brain dump every week. So I was actually working on that before we hopped on, like getting my to-do list and stuff together. I was checking in with my accountability partner to say like, hey, here's my intention for this week. Here's how I'm planning on showing up. I know that I'm going to be in trial, which means I know that my time is going to be a little bit more limited. So what can I do today to set myself up for this week? So for me, this is prep time.
You said accountability partner. It's really good something because a couple of years back, I had a planner, the Awesome Planner. And that was introduced by one of my friend and he is also my mentor and he was also the first guest on my Everyday Conversations.
Nice.
Samir GP. So he made an awesome planner and in that planner I learned about the accountability partner. He said you can make your plans, the big plan. Your plan is like for 5 years. You have to break down it into 3 years, then 1 year, and then months, and then days. But you can do everything, but you should have an accountability partner. How important is an accountability partner?
I think part of the reason why I say I'm a productivity and accountability coach is for that very reason. I thrive on accountability, and it doesn't necessarily have to be. Though right now, I do have this added layer of someone who checks in with me pretty much every day. But for me, accountability is like the message that I put out in the world. So like literally when I finish my to-do list for the week, I post a copy of it in my stories on Instagram every week. And then every Saturday, I post before I go to bed the completed version of it. So you can see what I got done and what I didn't get done. And so for me, knowing that people may or may not actually acknowledge the fact that I posted this, but me putting this message out to the world saying, this is what I'm going to get done this week, that's the type of accountability I need. And I think with the people that I work with, especially on the coaching side, more so than the criminal side, but the people that I work with in terms of coaching, they're often the people who show up that everyone looks to as the leader, as the person who's going to get things done, that they often don't have a person who actually asks them, are you good? Do you need help? Who checks them for accountability. So for me, accountability is like pretty much the end all be all. Having someone, being that someone, but also having someone who checks in with me. And so my accountability partner, I'm currently in a mastermind. And so they assigned us accountability partners when we started at the beginning of this year. And our coach was like, y'all check in however you want, but at least make sure you check in once a week. And once we kind of talk to each other, we're both like, I need daily accountability. And she's like, me too. And so we pretty much voice note every day, throughout the day, checking in on what we're doing. And well, last week she just got back last night. Her son's getting ready to go off to college, so she was doing like pre-orientation stuff with him. And so I hadn't really talked to her in like 3 days because she's been there kind of doing that. So obviously she's been away from her business. And so like even with her voice note that she sent me this morning, she's like, if you think of anything that I'm missing, let me know. So my response voice note to her was like, based off where you left off last week, this is what I think is the importance. So I have to see what she says back. But for me, accountability is like end all, being all, like being the person to hold people accountable. People know in life, coaching, real life work, don't tell me something if you don't want to be held accountable to it. Because I'm the person who's going to be like, hey, you said you were going to do X. Did you do it?
That's great. So, when I was looking at your form, and I was like, criminal defense attorney and the productivity coach. So I was just looking at my lineup of guests and I was like, I have mental health advocate, I have psychotherapist, I have life coach. And when I saw your intake form, I was like, something appealing. So I was like, why not to bring her very soon? And when I sent you an email and you replied on spot that, okay. So I love that thing. I was like, she's busy. She's a criminal defense attorney. But on an everyday conversation, she wants to come. So it's something different. And I like that. So criminal defense. Walk me into the world for a second because most people know criminal defense from TV serials, from Netflix series. So what exactly actually it is to be a person standing between someone and the consequences of the worst woman, of their worst woman actually.
Ooh, this year will be 13 years for me. And
Wow.
number one, it doesn't feel like it's been 13 years. I was talking to my aunt yesterday, and she's like, I can't believe it's been 13 years. Like, it doesn't feel like you're that, like you're old enough that it has to have been 13 years. And I say the same thing. But I think that, number one, they're regular people just like us. A lot of them, and I'm at the public defender's office. So, what that means in the U.S. is essentially people who can't afford to hire their own attorney, the government appoints them an attorney. So I'm at the public defender's office, and I've been there the entire time. So throughout the time that I've been there, like I worked my way up. So now I do mostly like the homicides, the super serious crimes. But oftentimes it's just a bad day. And I know that sounds kind of rough coming with the type of charge it is, but they're regular people just like you and me. And I often try to look at them as that. Like having a conversation with them isn't me belittling them, isn't me looking down on them. Like I got to take what we're working with and what is the best possible outcome that we can get. A lot of them are like, hey, I know I messed up. This is like, addiction, poverty, life situations, their upbringing, things like that can often come into play. And so I think when you say like, what is it standing between like me, them, and the consequences of their action, essentially, it's making sure that their rights are protected at the end of the day. Because people can sometimes make bad decisions, but the government, cops, law enforcement, whatever the case may be, sometimes puts targets on people's backs, whether that be race, gender, geographic area, and they're looking for something bad to happen, or that it has to have been something bad and that it can be no other opportunity. And so I'm all about coming in to both play devil's advocate. Sometimes my clients don't like me. They're like, you always come and tell me bad news. I'm like, well, I got to tell you the bad news before we can get to the good news. Let me tell you all the things that are working against us so we can find the things that can work for us. And so I think that no 2 days are alike. No two cases are alike. No two clients are alike. Even when I have a repeat client that I've represented previously, it's like, ma'am or sir, we've been here before. What's going to be different this time? And even some of them, like actually watching them actually change their life from, the version of them that I knew maybe years ago when I might have represented them the first time to the version of them that's now hopefully changing their life for the better. But sometimes you see the downward spiral as well.
You're correct. People, those are same like us. Those are same human beings. Someone is trapped in something or other, or someone are maybe doing that because of poverty, because of some pressure, some domestic pressure on them. So that's a good thing that you are helping some people clearing out, and maybe at the end they have converted them from criminal to a normal being.
That's the goal.
You said something that people kept telling you. You should be a life coach. You are so motivating. How you do it all? At what point did you stop brushing that off and actually listen to them?
March of 2020, the pandemic.
That changed everyone, that bring up everyone their inner things and let them do something for everyone actually, I think.
Yeah, for me, it was when people have been telling me that for years. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, I hear you. Number one, I didn't see it, but also, I'm a full time criminal defense attorney. And at that time, I was doing basketball as well. So I officiated basketball, so like refereed basketball. So I did that pretty much every day after work from like October to February. And then in the summertime, there would be tournaments. So like all summer, I would be Saturday and Sunday doing games from 8 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. Like, I literally did not have time. And so when they were like, you're motivating, you're encouraging, you should be a life coach. And I'm like, with what time? Like, where am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Like, I literally don't have time to add this entire thing, not even knowing what it was, to my plate. But March 2020, literally like week 1 of the pandemic, thankfully I didn't lose my job, but obviously we were sent home to work and we literally had to come into the office 1 day a week, if that. And so because people are, taking care of kids, all of that, they're like, we don't care when you log on, just get your work done. I'm naturally a morning person, so I still pretty much kept my same work routine. I would get up, I would work out, go for a walk, log into work. And so pretty much by lunchtime every day, I'm like, I've done 8 hours of work. Not that they were necessarily caring that we did 8 hours of work, but I've done the work that I need to do for the day. So like, I'm logging off. So every day come noon, I'm logging off and I'm like, okay, I've watched Netflix, I've watched TV, I'm reading books, I'm doing puzzles, I'm checking in, texting, co-working with people. I'm like, I need something else to do. So those thoughts started coming back to me. And then, when you start thinking about things, your phones are listening. So every time I started opening Facebook and Instagram, I'm seeing all these ads for become a life coach, become a life coach, become a life coach. And probably the attorney in me is like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. So I signed up for a couple of the different webinars to figure out like what even is a life coach. Like, people have been telling me I should be a life coach, but I don't even know what that actually is. And so the coaching program that I ultimately went through, I made it halfway through the first video. Mind you, that first video was all of 3 to 5 minutes. I made it halfway through and I'm like, oh, I understand why they say I should do this. I guess I have been doing this. And so from that point, I was sold. Like, I was like, all right, I'm all in.
March 2020, you said you pick up this productivity thing, an accountability coach or life coach. 13 years since you are an attorney. So did you ever felt that these two careers were in conflict sometime?
No, in the sense that when I first became an attorney, I was like, oh, by the time I turned 30, which would have been about 7 years of me practicing law, I'm going to open my own firm. March of 2020 is also the year that I turned 30. So I had started in like 2019, like late 2018, most of 2019, I had started going back through like my law practice management courses that I took in law school, looking up the process of opening your own firm. And I'm looking through all of this and I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, I want to still continue to be an attorney, but the thing that, when you open your own business, now you gotta, and I guess technically in the coaching world, I still kind of got to do it, but you gotta, I don't want to say chase, but you gotta chase clients, especially in the criminal realm. Like, if I'm gonna do criminal, I need to find the clients. They gotta be able to pay me, because criminal law practices are pretty much cash businesses in the sense that versus other areas of law where you might have settlements that can, fund and float the business. If I'm gonna do criminal, I need clients who can pay me to support this business, and then I'm gonna have to be networking and like going to different counties, different jails, all the time that it's gonna take to do this. And I'm like, plus the resources that I have, like at the public defender's office, we have social workers, we have investigators. Like, I have this team behind me that helps me be a better attorney. Opening my own firm, yes, I eventually will get to the stage where I'm able to hire these people to do these things. But in the beginning, it's going to be me. And I'm like, do I really want to do that? And I was like, no, I don't. And so I was like, okay, cool. I'm not opening my own firm. I'm good with that. I'm sold on that. Fast forward March of 2020, pandemic. So I started looking into it. I started researching it. And ultimately, I named my business Legally, which is a nod to the law aspect. And so I did open a business by the time I was 30, just not the business that growing up I always thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be this law practice, but here it is, this coaching business.
So Lee, anti-hustle, anti-grind, but not anti-hard work. I want to pull that apart because I think people will hear anti-hustle and assume you are working less, per se. So I don't think so that this is what you mean at all, right?
No. So for me,
So
anti-hustle.
yeah.
Okay. So for me, anti-hustle and grind means I'm not a slave to my job, whether that be the law side, the coaching business. I'm not a slave to work. I'm not working 24/7. When it comes to law, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. I don't bring work home. I don't work late. Now, disclaimer, asterisk mark. If I'm in trial, obviously I can't be like, hey, judge, I'm leaving at 5. If we're staying late because we're actively in a trial, that's different. But in terms of day-to-day, working late, bringing work home, working on weekends, if it's not, like if I don't have a weekend duty that's assigned to me for that weekend, like I don't work late. In the 13 years that I've been there, aside from obviously the times that I've been in trial, I can literally count on one hand, and I think I only need 3 fingers, the number of times I've come in on a day that I wasn't supposed to, I've stayed late, or I've brought work home in almost 13 years. And it's funny because one of the interns, when she was like helping me do some trial prep on Friday, and she's like, oh, so this weekend you're going to be doing all your trial prep. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm done with trial prep. I'll be ready for trial on Monday when I come back. Like, we're not doing that this weekend. No. And so for me, anti-hustle and grind means that I'm not, and to each his own. Oftentimes it's the bro marketer. There's no offense. I know you're a man. But oftentimes it's like the bro marketing, or it's the men who are like, I'll sleep when I'm dead, hustle, like all of that. I'm not saying I'm anti-hard work. Like, I put in work. At work, I put in work in terms of my coaching business. Like, even like we were reaching out about the podcast and you were like, hey, because I know Dubai time versus, Eastern time. You were like, well, what about around this time? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a morning person. That'll give me enough time to get up, get my workout in, and I'll be ready to record. I'm all about working hard, but doing so with intention. I think, and I could be wrong, that oftentimes when people are in this hustle and grind mode, they just want to go to tell people how busy they are, how late they stayed up, how early they got up, how much work that they did. But was the work that you actually doing producing the results that you needed to produce? Because oftentimes we go in these circles and we just spin our wheels to work so hard and be so busy. But are you busy doing things that actually push you closer to your goal, or are you just busy for the sake of being busy?
So Lee, what is the biggest lie that hustle culture has told the most people?
I'll sleep when I'm dead. That like you have to go 24/7. You have to sacrifice everything in order to hit this goal. I view life as the duality that it is. You can have goals, pursue goals, have these passions, have this purpose in life, but still have this work-life balance, whether that's entrepreneurship, full-time career, whatever the case may be. Like this year, I've gone on vacation once a month. Now, when I came into 2026, that wasn't the intention. That wasn't the goal. A lot of these things were already on the calendar. And I just was like, well, I guess this is what we're doing this year. But with that, I've still been able to leave work at work, not work when I'm off. Like, I've still been able to do that, but I've still shown up in my business. And I would say for me, this has been like the best year of business for me because I've gotten clearer on my messaging. Like, I joined this mastermind, and the mastermind is having me do this extra work. They're changing things. Like, I'm getting a CRM set up for the first time, like doing all this stuff that I didn't know that I needed. So I'm putting in the work and I'm showing up, but I also been on vacation. I also still have been prepping trials and, going to trainings for work. I've been living this literal duality of life, and I don't feel that I've had to sacrifice to do it.
You simplify productivity, which sounds obvious, but most productivity advice is anything but simple. What does simplifying actually look like when someone comes to you and completely overwhelmed, they comes to you and they're buried?
It's literally helping you find hidden time in the day. So essentially, like I said, you said, I'm Coach Lee. So I use a framework that I call the Lee method, which is 3 simple words: look, examine, and execute. It's all about the way that you're looking at things. A phrase that I love to say is, if you change your perspective, if you change your mindset, you can change your life. Perspective is how you look at things. So how are you looking at your ability to be productive? What are your thoughts around productivity? Are you thinking that it's so hard? Because if you do, as a result in life, that's how it's going to be. So for me, simplifying productivity is really about helping you to see where you have time for these things. So often we say, I wish I had more time in the day. I wish I had time for this. But how often are you also watching an entire season of Netflix in a weekend? So you had 13 hours to watch TV, but you had 0 time to work out, to meal prep, to eat healthy, to pursue any of the goals that you want in life. So for me, simplifying productivity is kind of a lot of habit stacking, figuring out ways that you can put things together. Like, okay, while you watch Netflix, how about we fold up those loads of laundry that you said you haven't had time to do? I don't have time to call my family, but you have this hour-long commute to and from work. What if you use some of your commute time to call? Like, what things can we put together to really show you that you do all day? We don't have problems as humans doing. We do all day long. But are we doing the things that are going to actually help make us better, actually help us to show up as the best versions of ourselves as we continue to grow and to improve?
So it's all about priority, right? So to-do list, because when you said that people want to watch like 13 hours of Netflix binge they're doing, but they're not doing their work, which has to be done. So to-do list, everyone has like one to-do list or more, but sometimes it makes them feel worse. What do you think people are doing wrong in that?
They're not breaking down the to-do list. So often the things that we have to do are like mini projects, but we don't break down the individual steps. Let's use laundry, for example. Washing clothes isn't just washing clothes. You actually have to wash the clothes, dry the clothes, fold the clothes, put up the clothes, and maybe putting up involves both folding in the drawer and hanging up in the dresser, depending on what it is. But we just say, I need to wash clothes this weekend. But really, washing clothes is 4 steps, 5 if you want to count like the sorting, the washing, the drying, the folding, the putting up. And you wonder why you get overwhelmed. Oh, I need to cook for the week. Okay, do you actually already have the groceries at home? Have you actually defrosted the food? Because when you're like, I'm ready to cook, but the food is still in the freezer, unless you're putting it in the crock pot, you're not likely cooking the food from frozen. So we have to think about the many steps that actually goes into everything that we do. Something as simple as like washing your hair. Like, okay, after I wash it, do I have to dry it? Do I have to style it? What products I got to put on it? We need to start thinking about all the steps that are involved in the things that we do. So often when we make a to-do list, we put like the end goal on the list without thinking about the many steps or the mini and or mini, however you want to say it, MININMANY, the steps that are involved in that actual thing. And so simplifying productivity is really breaking apart all the things that you have to do, because so often we look at our to-do list and we're like, I did absolutely nothing. But really, you probably did 3 of the 5 steps for this project, i.e. this mini task, and you just couldn't cross it off because you didn't finish the other 2. But you actually made significant progress on the thing.
You said that you go on vacation as well, attorney, productivity coach. So work-life balance, that this phrase comes over here. But mostly this phrase gets thrown around so much it has almost lost the meaning. What does it actually look like in practice for you as a criminal defense attorney who is also building a coaching business? Yeah.
So for me, it looks like Monday through Friday, I touch all three. I touch law, I touch coaching, and I touch life. On the weekends, I touch two of the three, unless it's a weekend that I have like a scheduled weekend duty. So on the weekends, I'm touching life and business. And so for me, that looks like, and now when I say the time that I wake up, don't look at me crazy. And I'm not suggesting anyone else does this, but it's what works for me. So Monday through Friday, I wake up at 2:30 in the morning. Disclaimer, asterisk, asterisk. I also go to bed at about 8:45 at night. So I get 5 to 6 hours roughly of sleep a day. On the weekends, I sleep in a little longer, but I still go to bed at the same time on the weekend. I don't just stay up late just because it's the weekend. And so for me, it looks like having, you talked about a morning routine. Now, if I actually, I guess, count the whole time, I guess in a sense, my morning routine is like a 3 hour morning routine, but it's not intentionally that. So for me, my morning routine is me waking up, doing some journaling, doing my devotional, reading my personal development books, come out of my room, I get my lunch and stuff together. I come into my office/workout room. I do about an hour of work on my business before I then work out. From there, I'm taking a shower, getting dressed from work, and I go to work. I use my lunch breaks at work to work on my coaching business. Typically, is getting my content posted for the day and or scheduled out for the rest of the day. Then I finish out the workday. I come home and I do a mix of life and coaching. Whether that be like on Tuesdays is my mastermind day, so I have mastermind calls on that day. During the other days of the week, it might be a coaching call, it might be podcast interviews, things of that nature. But I also do life. Weekends, I meal prep. I meal prep on the weekend so that I have my food Monday through Friday, so I don't have to think about it. All I got to think about is which combination of this food do I want to put together to make it breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And so also on the weekends, I typically pick out my clothes for the week, my workout clothes for the week, my workout clothes. I'm doing my brain dump, setting up my planner, setting up my calendar, all of that stuff. Typically Sunday, like I'll watch church online if I don't physically go in person. And then I have like clubhouse rooms, I go live, different things like that. So for me, the work-life balance is literally, I have these pockets of time, like though no 2 days look alike, every day also still looks alike, if that makes sense. I know that Monday through Friday, I'm working on my business, I'm working on my business. What I specifically do to work on the business might look differently each day, but this is what it looks like. The weekends, I know I'm planning and prepping and setting myself up for the week. Yes, there might be some times where like, oh, I need to wash my car or I need to wash my hair, so I have to add in a little bit maybe more personal items or wash clothes. But I know that the weekends are about planning, preparing, and setting myself up for the week. And even with the travel, when I know that I have a travel week coming up, I still try to do as much prep work as I can for the week ahead. So that might mean when I meal prep double, knowing that I'm going to freeze the food so that when I come back from vacation, my meals are still prepped for the week. It's just a matter of taking them out of the freezer now. When I'm packing to go on vacation, I might go ahead and pick out my clothes for the week. So when I come back and I'm unpacking for vacation, I already know that my work clothes and my workout clothes are situated.
I think the difference between a productivity coach and a normal person trying to be a coach is this discipline which you're talking about. Because you said that, okay, today I have to do laundry, but that laundry is divided into 4 different steps, right? So that's what the thing is. A productivity coach has that much discipline, and I am pretty sure the clients you have in your productivity coaching are being too much disciplined.
Being too much discipline or being not enough discipline?
Okay. So you wrote a book that is not a small thing alongside all these things. We were just talking about something dualities. We were just talking about an attorney, a productivity coach, and now you wrote a book as well, alongside all these things you carry. So, what made you write it? Was there any turning point in your life or something which you were going through and you just said, okay, enough is enough, I have to write a book? Or it was something different?
I never set out to write a book. I guess like I never set out to become this coach. It was someone else. Again, someone else saw something in me and they're like, hey, you got a book in you. And I'm like, I got a book in me. What do you mean I got a book in me? She's like, at that point, it was like my business bestie or accountability partner that I had met through the coaching program that we were in. They had like a Facebook group and we met through that. And she's like, yeah, I think you're supposed to write a book. And I'm like, a book about what? She's like, I don't know. That's for you to figure out, but I think you're supposed to write a book. And I'm like, I never was on my bingo card, on my wish list. Like, I'm not really sure about this. But then it started like sitting with me. And some other girl that I met on Instagram, she was talking about this. I guess it happens every year, but literally since that year that she talked about it, I've never seen it again. It's called like nano writes. And I think the intention is that every day you write like 1,000, 1,200 words, something like that. And it takes place in November. So after early in the year, we had this whole "you're gonna write a book" thing, and I'm like, I'm not really sure about that. Heard about the nano writes. This girl said she was doing it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and basically, I'm gonna write my book during the month of November, and I did. I didn't outline it. I had the idea of like, actually, I didn't really have the idea fully. I'm like, I'm gonna write a book. Obviously, it's gonna be about productivity. What exactly about productivity? I'm not really sure. November 1st came, nano write started. I just started writing, and every day I would look at the word count. Once I hit, I think it was 1,200 words. Once I hit the 1,200 words, unless I was in the middle of a sentence, I stopped. If I was in the middle of the sentence, I would finish that sentence out, and every day I would just pretty much read the last sentence and just keep writing. I had no idea really what I was writing. It wasn't really outlined, and I just kept going every day. And like when I thought I was done, because I'm like, I don't feel like I have anything else to say, like I kind of went back, and I'm like, okay, that's where the Lee method came from, like the look, examine, and execute. I was like, okay, well, now that I've kind of outlined the framework, maybe I should give them like some activities that they can do to apply this, because though I'm writing a book about productivity, the way in which everyone applies it, which is the whole thing that I'm telling you to do, is don't, it's almost like a do as I say, not as I do type thing. Because if it's going to work for you, you have to apply this to your life. And I think that so many books, and I don't mean that they do it with bad intentions or anything like that, we sometimes read these personal development books and we try to do exactly what the author says, but we don't take into account that for many of us, the author is a full-time writer or has this larger platform than we likely have, and they have all this additional support that we might not have. And so when they're saying they do all of these things, practically speaking, what that looks like for them is much different than it looks like for us. And sometimes we don't even know the help and support that that person has. And so we're assuming that they're doing all these things, and we're beating ourselves up when we read their book and try to do what they say, not realizing that they have a chef, have a housekeeper, has a nanny, has whatever the case may be that helps make their life easier. Like, yeah, we got the same 24 hours, but how many people you got helping you with your 24 hours versus how many I got helping me with mine?
So what is the title of your book?
Lee's Laws of Productivity.
I'll put that down in the show notes as well. I want to ask you something. You said you help people create a life their career cannot destroy. This sentence implies that the careers can destroy life. Have you seen that happen? Or has it ever come close to happening to yours?
For me, I won't say that it has, but I guess I can think of a time that it came close. So for me, when I knew, like, I've known since middle school that I wanted to be an attorney. And pretty much shortly thereafter, probably by 8th grade, I knew that I likely was going to go to the public defender's office. Though I had the idea that I was only going to be there for a few years and then open my own firm, I knew that, historically speaking, public defender's offices, your caseloads are high, they're often stressed, people like to call us public pretenders, that you're not a real lawyer, all of those things. So I came in knowing those things. Like, I went through law school knowing that I'm likely going to the public defender's office. These are going to be the things that are against me, but I'm changing my perspective on it. I'm going to be the attorney that people are like, oh, that's a public defender? Like, I didn't even know that. Like, number one, we are real lawyers. We go to the same law school that the private attorneys go through. They likely came through our office before they opened their own firm. But I knew going in that there was going to be this potential perception of me as a public defender, as well as the caseloads and how that often leads to working late, bringing work home, and all of those things. I went in knowing that, but like, that's not going to be me. So if that's not going to be me, what things do I need to put in place to make sure that that doesn't happen? And so I went in with that mindset, and I went in with that perspective. Now, in the 13 years, I would say that I've come close to burnout once, and I literally felt it. And for me, I had been in back-to-back trials between my own trial and sitting with my coworkers, because at the time I was the lead in the division. So oftentimes if my supervisor wasn't available to sit on a person's first trial, I had to do it. Or I was asked to do it. That was kind of like the part of being an A. And so I remember like being like, I had just finished a trial, and the next week I was sitting on a trial with my coworker. We're like halfway through the trial, like we're in jury selection, and she's like, I think the state's going to drop the case. And I'm like, normally my coworkers know if it's after 5, don't call me, don't text me, don't bother me. I will see you the next day. I was like, if they say they're gonna drop it, let me know because I'm taking off tomorrow if they do. Like, I need to decompress. And I told my boss, if they drop this trial, whether it's in the middle of the night or early in the morning and I wake up to it, I'm not coming to work the next day. And she was like, okay. But she also knows me. She knows that I have nothing on my calendar. I'm not just calling out with work to do. My coworker texts me. They just dropped it. And I think she might have even emailed me a copy of it's called a no process, the paperwork showing that they dropped the case. Text my boss and I'm like, I'm out tomorrow. And she's like, rest. And I think it happened to fall on a Friday, so that gave me a long weekend. But I knew that I needed a break. And I was going to show up and put in the work until I can get that break. But I felt that, like, if I don't get there, something's going to happen. But now, as a result of that, I've started also implementing more things in my workday to help me to reset. Like, I go for a walk in the middle of the workday. My coworkers know, like, has she went for her walk yet? Okay, that might be why she's a little antsy. They know that I get hangry. They know, like, if I'm in trial, which probably is a bad thing to do, but like when I'm in trial, I choose a walk over eating lunch. If I don't have time to do both, I'm choosing the walk because I need to reset my brain. I'll grab an apple while I go out to go for a walk. And so sometimes they'll be like, hey, you going for your walk? Do you want me to take your lunch out of the refrigerator or put it in the microwave and heat it for you? And I'll be like, yes. Like if I get 3 bites of food before I got to go back to court, cool. But I need this walk more than I need this food to make sure that I can function. And so those would be the 2 things of 1, coming in with that mindset, and 2, the example of almost hitting burnout. And then 3, the things that I've kind of started to make sure that I have across the board to not let that happen.
And I think so it's necessary to vent out yourself, to reset your life actually. Consistency, you are known for it. And nobody talks about what consistency actually costs. The days you did not want to show up, the days the system felt pointless. What has consistency asked of you that you did not even expect to give?
I think consistency comes down to a decision. Oftentimes we look for motivation sometimes to do the thing. But when it's hard, you're not going to always be motivated. Like, I don't wait to feel motivated to work out. I know that I work out every day. It's a decision. And so I think that when it comes to showing up and being consistent, it's a decision. But also, consistency does not have to mean every day. Consistency can mean maybe like I consistently meal prep, which is once a week. I consistently work out, like, yeah, that's every day. Consistency looks differently depending on what the thing is. And so you understanding and deciding as well as defining what consistency means, not only to you, but for that thing is important. Because I think that a lot of people think that if someone says they do something consistently, that it has to be every day. But I don't have to meal prep every day because I meal prep for the week. So I consistently meal prep, but that's only a once a week activity. I consistently pick out my clothes for the week. I consistently prep for the week, but those things are mostly once a week activities. There are daily consistency items that I have. Then there are also items that I do like once a month. Like this is the last week of the month. Last full week of the month, I always plan and prepare for the month ahead. So I'm, brainstorming content ideas, thinking about my goals, thinking about like, what do I need to get accomplished this month? And I do this same process in life and business as well as at work. And so for me, consistency is yes. I love to believe that I am a consistent person, and I am a consistent person, but I also have understood and identified what does consistency mean on the day-to-day, on the week-to-week, and maybe even within a season.
Artificial intelligence, which we just spoke about earlier. If someone wants to get on a productivity coach and a life coach, but they think that, okay, AI is there, let's ask AI what to do. So can AI replace Coach Lee?
I don't think so. Because is AI going to be in your head and going to be the voice of reason to remind you, like, maybe even like, what would Coach Lee do? Or what would Coach Lee say to this? Because some of the problems with AI is that, number one, we have to build it in the sense that we have to tell it what we need to do. But what about the things that you don't know that you need to do? What about the things that they don't take into account? What about the things that they don't realize because they see I see your face or I hear that tone in your voice that something feels off that needs to be pushed or needs to be prodded at or needs to be questioned. And then sometimes, depending on potentially how you built your AI, maybe your AI doesn't challenge you. Maybe they hear what you say and they take it at face value and they just run with it versus challenging you to say, hey, that might be too much stuff you put on that list. Do you really want to revisit that? Or you told me this was the priority 2 days ago. Is that still the priority, or is it the thing that you're telling me today? And so I think that AI is a tool. I'm not anti-AI, but I think that we still need the human aspect, which is where the accountability part comes in. You can build your AI to maybe, send you a reminder, check in with you, but where's the human part for where you're neglecting yourself for it to question you? And so I think that I'm not anti-AI. Use it to help you find what works for you, but no, it can't replace me.
So, Coach Lee, outside all of the systems and the courtrooms and the coaching, nobody sees like all of this courtrooms and the coaching. Who is Coach Lee when nobody sees you, nobody wants any help from you? Who is Coach Lee?
Ooh. I'm really still this same person, which is how I got to be here. I'm the person who I can sit still, but sitting still for me might not look like sitting still for you. I know my boss used to ask me all the time, especially pre me starting my coaching business. She's like, do you ever just sit and watch TV and do nothing? And I'm like, yeah, all the time. I'm normally playing a game on my phone or something like that. She's like, no. Do you ever just look at the TV and do literally nothing else? And I'm like, no, why would I do that? Even if it's me just using the commercials to go pick out clothes real quick or, go vacuum this room. No, I don't just sit and watch TV and do nothing. It's too much stuff to do in the day. But that's not hustling and grinding. That's just me being mindful of the fact that, I don't have, well, now I have a DVR, but back in the day, I didn't have DVR, so my TV shows had commercials. Okay, it's going to be a 5-minute commercial. What am I going to do at this time? Just sit here? I can play a game on my phone. I can get up and go do something. I can go, brush my teeth and get ready for bed during this commercial. So I'm the person who, I don't want to say that I'm always busy. I'm always intentional about what I'm doing. And so I am a planner through and through. You tell me something and I automatically reverse engineer. Even when we were setting up this podcast interview, when you were like, hey, this time, so what about morning time? And I was like, hey, as long as it's any time before this time, I'm good. I'm a morning person. You set the time and I was like, bam, I know that I have enough time to wake up, do my morning routine, get my workout in, get my run in, and be here for this podcast interview. And still, when I finish this, roll into the rest of my day. I automatically reverse engineer. So when someone tells me something, it's the end result. And I reverse engineer to make sure that it's going to fit in my life, in my schedule. So I guess I live and breathe this, but not in a way that it takes over my life. It is my life, but not in what I perceive as an unhealthy way. I think it helps me be the person that I am and to show up in the way that I do and to be a model, even when I wasn't trying to model consistency, even when I wasn't trying to model productivity. So I'm just me. So I am legally me.
When I was asking about what time you will be available, because I know that Eastern time and the Middle East time is totally different, and I was like, I'm getting a very good guest from North America. I have to be on their time. I said, what if she says that she's available in the weekends evening? And I'm doing, as you said, that you are in the weekends, you are doing your productivity business and your meal prep and everything, right? So I was like, I'm also working on daily basis I'm employed, but on the weekends I'm doing my passion. That's podcast, listening to conversations, listening to stories and spreading the word out, positivity words to people. So I was like, if she says she's available in weekend evening, then no problem. After the midnight, I'll wake up and I'll speak to her about the podcast. At that time, I can do the recording. And I was like, it's good that you are a morning routine person. And I'm happy that we are doing this.
Thank you. I had someone, I think she was London, and I recorded a podcast at 4 a.m. When I booked it, she's like, did you say it's 4 in the morning there? I'm like, yeah, girl, I've been up for like an hour and a half. Like, I finished my morning routine. This is my office time, so I'm recording this podcast during my office time. So we'll be good. By the time we finish, it'll be time for me to push play on my workout. We're fine. She's like, I don't think I've ever had anybody record a podcast at 4 in the morning and be so full of energy. And I'm like, we're good. Let's do this.
I don't know why people are not into this morning routine, I love waking up morning early at 4 o'clock, and then my routine meditation, then prayers, and then I do some affirmations, and then I go for a run. And after the run, I go to gym, and then after gym, I go to work. So my whole morning starts like this. And when I tell to people, people are like, so what about your life? I was like, that's the life. You have to wake up early morning. It's not that your work is at 9 o'clock and you're waking up at 8 o'clock, taking shower and rushing to work. I don't know when people are going to change this theory and start looking at themselves.
I think that it can go two ways. I'm not going to necessarily advocate, again, the 2:30 a.m. wake up. I'm not pushing that for anybody. But I'm not even going to necessarily say people should wake up at 4 or 5. Now, if they got to be to work at 9, I think you probably should be up at like 7. But maybe for you, it's not waking up and going to the gym. Maybe for you, it literally is just a slow morning to start the day because maybe you're not a morning person. But I think that's the important thing is understanding what works for you. Like, I used to work out in the evening, but then once I realized that sometimes trials roll after 5 and things of that nature, do I really want to still have to go to the gym once I leave work after being in trial and all of these things? No. And so then that's how I moved to the morning time. Like, I didn't just start waking up at 2:30 in the morning out of nowhere. Like, I used to be like a 6 o'clock, and then I slowly kind of started adding stuff to my morning routine, and then I was at like a solid 4 o'clock. And then pandemic time starting this coaching business, I was like, okay, well, where am I going to have time to do the back end stuff for the business, my own personal development, responding to emails, doing the stuff that my clients need me to do if I'm coaching in the evening or on podcasts in the evening. And so that's how I slowly moved it to the 2:30 a.m. wake up time. And it still felt good and gave me time to take care of what I needed to take care of. So I'm not going to say that everyone needs to wake up at 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning. I do believe that everyone needs some sort of morning routine. And maybe your morning routine is literally you sitting down with a cup of coffee and planning out your day, or, sitting down with water. I'm not a coffee person, but I know everyone likes coffee. Sitting down with, a cup of water, your planner, and just planning out your day. Like, maybe that just is your slow morning. Maybe you are an evening workout person, and so you don't want to get up early to work out. So I'm not going to say that everyone needs to wake up, 4 or 5 in the morning and truly have a morning routine. But I do think that everyone should wake up early enough to where you're not rolling out of bed, brushing your teeth, throwing on clothes, and running out the door. There should be a little bit of pause in the day because just as soon as you wake up 5 minutes late, now everything is thrown off. And so now you start your day frustrated, and then you're in the car driving, and all the cars are in the way and on your nerves, and you get to work upset and angry, and that just keeps perpetuating the cycle. Whereas if you wake up in the morning, whatever time that is, to give you a little bit of time for yourself to just breathe, to maybe even just lay there in the bed, scroll your phone for a few minutes before you have to get out of the bed and start with your version of your morning routine. But yeah, everyone should get up a little bit earlier than the time they need to rush out the door. But what that time is going to vary person to person.
Coach Lee, what is the one thing that you knew now before you started anything? And you should know it before when you started. What is the one thing that you knew recently or something?
What's something that I know now that I didn't know before?
Yeah, you should have known it before, right? But you have knew it now. Something, is there anything like that?
And I know people talk about it a lot when you start businesses, like niching down, finding your niche, all of these things. I was very hesitant and reluctant to niche down to legal professionals. And I teeter-tottered with it. Like, when I joined the mastermind at the beginning of this year, they were like, oh yeah, you should talk to lawyers. And I'm like, I know, but I'm scared, I'm hesitant. And I went back and forth on it. And then in May, I had a conversation with my coach, and she's like, you have to commit to it for 6 months. And I was like, okay, starting June 1st, I will commit to talking to the legal professionals, helping the legal professionals, and going all in with that. Because my messaging, it wasn't scattered, but I was, when you try to talk to everyone, you talk to no one. And so I was like, well, how do I talk about law all the time without talking about law all the time? And so once I was able to see all these systems that I built, my meal prepping, my working out, my walk, picking out my clothes for the weekend. Like all the things that I do is really to support the fact that I'm an attorney that lets me leave work at work, come home on time, all of those things, it all like goes together. So the thing that I should have known in the beginning is listen to them when they say niche down. Like, yeah, you got to figure out and find what that niche is, but also know that change is going to come. So like the niche that I had when I first started versus the niche that I have now, and maybe even the niche is going to change in the future, who knows. But even with me leaning into legal professionals, because my messaging is clear, other people like non-legal professionals have been able to see themselves in my work and in my content, because they're like, she's an attorney. Attorneys are generally speaking busy, and she's doing this as an attorney and also doing this. And when I say just, I'm not minimizing what they do. If I just work full time, why can't she help me? If I just am an entrepreneur and I have much more time than she does, of course she can help me to figure out how to organize my time because I have more time than she does. So like by me niching down and honing in, other people are truly able to see how the work that I do instead of does benefits them. And so when I do like podcasts and things like this, instead of me saying I help legal professionals, I just say I help women, or I help you to create a life that your career can't destroy. Like, yes, I'm talking to the legal professionals, but when I'm on bigger stages, bigger audiences, I just take out that word legal and plug in like you or women or whatever that specific focus is, because at the end of the day, that's what I do.
Coach Lee, what would you like to say to the listeners regarding the productivity? Why should they acquire the accountability and the productivity?
Do you like where you are in life? Have you been trying to get somewhere and you're stuck and you keep going around and around in the same circles? Like knowing that something needs to change and knowing that something needs to be done, but not actually doing it. Like do you like where you are? If you do, hey, if you like it, I love it. But if you found yourself continuing to repeat these cycles, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So if you want something different, do something different.
Coach Lee, at the last, before the closing remarks I were to give for you, I have something very interesting for you. You teach productivity, you build systems, you help people get organized, stay consistent, create structure in their lives. And you told me something that your desk is a complete disaster. I need you to describe what is on your desk right now in detail, because I think the people who teach this are the best always. Or I can say that they are the ones who are still figuring out at least one part of it themselves. So tell me something about your desk.
Well, let's see. I can maybe show you some of the piles that exist.
So I think we are going to see a proper demonstration, right?
Yeah, we've got piles everywhere. It's an organized mess. And for me, it's working chaos. I can't always work in chaos. But because each pile means something, I'm only working from one pile at a time. Now, when the piles start mixing together, I get overwhelmed and I'm like, give me 10 minutes to clean my desk and let me set myself up. I'm much better at work at doing this than I am at home, in all honesty. So at work, every Friday, before I leave for the day, I typically try to clean my desk and like make my nice piles. Because when I'm working and you're focused, you just start moving stuff around. So at home, because I'm in here every day as opposed to work, I'm not there on the weekends. Because I'm here so much at home, some of these papers go back and forth with me to work because I use my lunch breaks to work on my business. If I'm pulling from a different pile every day to work on at lunch at work, when it comes back home, it just gets thrown somewhere. And so, but it does get to the point to where I'm just like, almost like throw everything away, put it all on the floor, get it out of the way. There are some piles on the floor as well. I will be honest and tell you that as well. But I have my constant is my planner. That is literally in the center of my desk, and everything else flows out around me. So yeah, my desk is a mess, and I've been putting it on the to-do list to clean it every week, and then I do, but then something new happens. Like I just came back from Tulum, for my mastermind, and so coming back, they gave us papers and stuff that we worked through there. So then I'm like, throw that on the desk. And now I'm like, I did the work with that. I got to go back to it, but that's not on this week's to-do list. So I'm just going to put that in a pile. We'll circle back to that pile later.
It's amazing conversation with you, Coach. I would say that a criminal defense attorney who defends the most vulnerable people in the most high stakes moments of their lives, and then goes home and helps everyone else building a life that actually works for them. Coach Lee does not teach productivity because she has everything figured out. She teaches it because she figured out the part that matters. And that I've read about me, that you always keep on saying that I love my family, I love my colleagues, I love my people. And then at the last you mentioned as well that your family is the ones who are coaching under you, and you love to coach them, and you love to see them grow. And that was your message everywhere I saw. And it's the same message that you have been living every single day across two careers, a book and a coaching practice that is changing how real people are, busy people are, and overwhelmed people are. So all of your details I will be putting down in the show notes below. Your book, your website, how to get in touch with you for productivity, for criminal defense if someone needs something. I would say you do not need more motivation. You do not need a perfect morning routine. You just need a system. And you need to restart. You need to start your system. That's all. Thank you, Coach Lee. Thank you so much. And to all the listeners out there, just I would say thank you so much for listening to me. Subscribe the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye. Thank you, Coach Lee. Thank you so much for amazing conversation.